So a very important part of this journey that we're all on to learn how to play this instrument better is listening, and listening to lots of different recordings and lots of different violinists play. Because without that, we don't have an idea of how the instrument has been played. Not so that we can just copy exactly what one person plays, but so that we can take the inspiration from all these different sources and build it into our own way of playing the instrument. And so, I thought that as someone who listens to a lot of these recordings and these violinists, I would put together a little list of different violinists and what I think is their finest recording. A recording that represents them. A recording that if you said, okay, this violinist, everything they've ever played, every memory of every concert that anyone's been to, every recording they've ever made, every live concert recording on video they've ever made is all wiped from existence completely. Except for one thing, one piece, one time, one recording. That is the recording I would choose. A recording that sort of exemplifies every part of the violinist. Not just how virtuosic they are, not just how well they play in a Baroque style, but whatever piece sort of captures the most of that violinist. Because this way you get the highest bang for buck, so to speak, when you listen to different violinists. Because if you have a list like this, you can listen to, okay, I'm going to listen to this person, their best recording, right? If you don't like their best recording, chances are you're not going to enjoy much of their other playing. So it's a really interesting way to experience different violinists and different recordings. And so the first one we have today is Chen. Now this was a tricky one, actually. I listened to a bit of Chen. I tried to listen and create this list from an informed standpoint. Because, you know, if the only thing you've ever heard is Chen play the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto, and then you say, I love Chen playing the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto, then that opinion is sort of worth nothing. It's not useful. Because of course, if it's the only thing you know and you like it, it's going to be the thing you like the most. However, if you've listened to Milstein and you've listened to Zukerman and you've listened to Heifetz and you've listened to Schering and you've listened to Perlman and you've listened to Gitlis and you've listened to Chen, all play the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto. And then you say, oh, I love when Chen plays the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto. That makes for a much more valuable opinion. You see, the opinion where you've sort of haven't even done anything, haven't even experienced any of the different interpretations it's worthless. It's a very empty statement. And so I want to make sure that no one has to be going around talking like that. That being said, we didn't choose the Mendelssohn Concerto, any of Chen's performances, for his finest recording. He plays a very good Mendelssohn Concerto. He's recorded a very good Tchaikovsky Concerto. He has a fantastic recording from this old documentary about his teacher of him playing the Wieniawski original theme and variations. He has a really good Sibelius as well. But the piece I chose, the piece that is going to be our prime example of Chen, is Paganini Caprice 21, which at first, I don't know, you may think it's a bit of an out there sort of pick, because not many people know Paganini Caprice 21. If you're into, you have to be really into Paganini Caprices to know them. You have to sort of know all of them, and then you'll know, okay, that one's 21. But if you just know Paganini Caprices, I mean, obviously you know, and then you know 5. What else is there? Maybe you know 9. That one, or 14. But not 21. And maybe for good reason, but I don't think so. I think it really is one of the nicest Paganini Caprices. So I'm going to stop talking. We're going to listen to it first.
Shabbat Shalom.
So this is an encore, of course. very simple start. I mean, a lot of the caprices have a sort of intro or prelude of sorts, which is just consists of a few chords, maybe a few number 5, of course, a few arpeggios. A few of them have these big sort of statement that it's like, yes, this is the caprice, this is the key. This one is very simple. It's just A major chord. It's like, okay, A major. And now we get into this beautiful, beautiful, it's like an opera duet between the two main romantic interests, I guess. So Paganini has to get in there somehow, some virtuosity, even among the singing lyrical passage. But this section is so beautiful and so beautifully played by Ray Chen here. It's just so, it's so perfect. Everything is perfectly singing-like, and it's perfectly, the rubato is so, because the rhythm's already very sort of free here. It has these triplets. Ti-da-da-da-da, ti-da-da-da. Da, 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 da. So he pulls them apart at just the perfect tempo where it's not an even, it's not dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 da. It's amazing to see. So you notice that each one of these sections, it's sort of a repetition of da 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 dee da 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 dee da da da. This melody, first on the G and D string, low down, and then at the end of that phrase, we have the big scale. Oh. Something like that. And then it repeats again. And then we have this chromatic scale down. Then it repeats again for a third time. But this time it's a little bit different. Yep. Time it comes back. Each one sort of gets more and more passionate. Now, I'm going to pause it right here. Some of you may know what's coming, but for the people who don't, I want to explain briefly. So the Paganini Caprices are usually quite small pieces, right? This piece is only 3, 4 minutes long. I think three. Maybe 3 or 4. We'll just say 3 or 4. Most of them are around that length. And they have various little forms because they have to be in the form of little miniatures, right? Which have very different ideas of form to big symphonies or concerti, right? When you have a concerto, you probably just have the first movement in a standard sonata form, which we have the first subject, second subject in the exposition, and we have a development, we have a recap. We don't really have time for that in a miniature to introduce 2 sorts of main ideas and then have them develop and then come back both at the end. And so we have a lot of different forms, and one of the forms that Paganini uses a lot in these is just a basic binary form of sort of 2 contrasting sections, and then maybe one comes back at the end. I think of Paganini 11, the 11th Caprice, which is the C major, which starts with these chords and this melody. Da. And then it has this middle section, which sounds like, I don't know, it sounds really goofy in a way. Whatever. And then it comes back at the end. And so this, well, we've had this beautiful sort of operatic duet, romantic duet. It's marked amoroso, which is sort of lovingly or tenderly. And now we have virtuosity, where Paganini, or in this case Ray Chen, gets to show off all that he can do. And just, you'll have to see for yourself. Yeah, that is impressive. That is seriously impressive. And so this is one of the reasons I chose that Caprice, because not only does it display all Ray Chen can do in sort of that really passionate, romantic, very imaginative sound in a way, where it really feels like you're part of that sort of love story rather than just the notes of the Paganini Caprice. That's just, okay, I've just played a piece, I'm gonna go stand on the stage and just show off, you know, how many notes I can play. But then, at the end of the Caprice, he really does just do exactly that. And the staccato is, I mean, it's really, really crazy. Because I was having this talk with my teacher, one of my teachers recently, and they would, when I was playing the Vinyalski Polonaise, the second one. Because it has a staccato roll. Yeah, something like that. I haven't played it in a while. But staccato is very much just a sort of freakish bow stroke in that you can very easily have an entire career as a world famous violinist, soloist even, and never play anything with staccato. But the violinists that do play a staccato, they like to use it. And Ray Chen's staccato is very, 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 it's unbelievable in this, really. Hopefully, one day we can all acquire a staccato as good as that. So, that is the first recording, Ray Chen. I'm sure you already know Ray Chen from other recordings, but I think this is definitely one to keep an eye out for. Next recording we have is from Augustin Hadelich. Now, I'm not going to spoil which one it is yet, because Hadelich is a he's an interesting player. He has a very, very unique sound. Very, very unique, very, very individual sound. It's one of the most recognizable sounds on a violinist. It's something that you can go, if you put on a recording of Hadelich, you can close your eyes and go, Hadelich. Faster than you can almost any other violinist. And so that's something immediately noticeable and very remarkable about him. Another thing is that he has this unbelievably clean way, technically, of playing things, in that you hear almost never a single sound that's between the notes. You hear a perfectly resonant, ringing, in-tune note, and just about nothing else on every single note, which is something that makes his sound really, really pop in these sort of virtuoso pieces especially. He also plays a very, very wide variety of the repertoire. He's one of the few violinists today that play the Ligeti concerto, as well as the Berg concerto, Alban Berg concerto. But of course, he also plays the regular repertoire. He would play the Mendelssohn, the Sibelius, Beethoven, Brahms, Tchaikovsky, all of those. But he adds to it the Prokofiev too, Ligeti, Berg. He just released an album maybe last year of all American music. And so I tried to find something that would sum up and show off all that he can do. And the piece that I decided upon, this was a very hard decision. Some of the other contenders were Isai, Mendelssohn, what the heck is this? Isai, Mendelssohn, I mean, there are many other good pieces, but the performance I landed on was this one, which is Carmen Fantasy, because it has, like the Ray Chen, has the duet. That sort of love theme, and also the, which I'm not going to try to do, and also the staccato. This piece also has a lot of the lyrical, beautiful themes from the opera, of course, and then the virtuosity, which shows off to the absolute maximum just how clean this man can play and make a sound on the violin. So we're going to start at the start. That's a very Hadelich thing. He has this way of making an accent or an emphasis that sort of has this, like a delay to the last note. It's like a... Not at the start. It's a really interesting sort of accent. And that is something that you can definitely tell straight away. That's Hadelich. If you hear that sound and the vibrato. The only other violinist I've heard do anything like that is Isai, actually. Eugene Isai himself, who actually has recordings. They're very, very old recordings, and there's not so many of them. But there are a few. There's about an album of a couple showpieces. There's a movement of Mendelssohn concerto. There's Wieniawski, mazurkas, little pieces like that. There's a Dvorak humoresque in there. That's a great album to go listen to. let's skip ahead a bit. I'm going to find these harmonics. Yep, there we are. That is, I mean, that's... See, he does the thing with the accent again. Huh? What note is that? It's like a, as opposed to someone else would go and just play straight on. He goes, it is really a very individual thing. I'm glad that he does it a lot in this piece because it shows off Hadelich as a player. Where do we want to listen? See, in this passage, despite all the string crossings, despite how high up he plays, you never hear a single sort of scratch, a single sort of bone noise, anything out of place. Everything is so perfectly, meticulously correct. And even swapping between different bow strokes, the plucking, the harmonics, you never hear anything. You never hear anything. In other violinists, you would hear maybe something like a little sound in between each string or in between each bow or in between the harmonics or the plucking. Something scratching, but no, even when he plays that, it's so perfectly rounded sound. It's never anything spiky or out of place in any way. Now, I do want to listen to a little bit more. We don't have time to listen to the whole thing, but I would love to listen to the last movement. With these ridiculous thirds. That's just crazy. Yeah. And now we listen to this last finale. I don't think there needs to be any more said about Hadelich's playing. That is so unbelievable. It's so clean, it's so musical, and it's so... I think the cleanliness is one thing. Not that Hadelich is, unmusical or bad in any other regard, but I think the cleanliness really does stand out as something that's just so unbelievable about his playing. So, that's Hadelich. and Ray Chen, and their two finest recordings, the two recordings that if you wiped them all off the face of the earth and had one recording left, those would be the ones to listen to. Now, we have one last one for this video, and this is Pinkas Zukerman playing the Tchaikovsky Concerto. But not just any Pinkas Zukerman playing the Tchaikovsky Concerto. This is Pinkas Zukerman in 1969 at his German debut. So you have to imagine Pinkas Zukerman was born... No, this was in 1969, was it? Yes, it was. So Pinkas Zukerman is about 20, 21, 22 or so in this recording, and it's his debut in Germany. Keep in mind, 1969 is not too long after the Second World War, and both his parents were Holocaust survivors. They were in Auschwitz. And so to go and play as a son of Holocaust survivors, this recently after the war, in Germany, with German orchestra, I mean, it's quite the experience. It's very bizarre in some ways because, of course, the music, I mean, they're playing Tchaikovsky. No, it's not attached to anything German in any way at all, but somehow playing it all in Germany at that time, it must have been an unbelievable experience. And I think this recording really shows off a lot of what Zukerman can do in terms of the massiveness of the sound and the depth and the richness of the tone. I think that's the most remarkable thing about Zukerman, to look out for his playing. I mean, he says it sometimes in a masterclass to students or something. He would say, play like chocolate, like dark chocolate. That's what his sound sounds like. It sounds like a rich, imagine like the richest chocolate ganache you've ever had. It's just so rich and dense and sweet and intense sound. And that's what we're going to hear. He's about to come in, yeah? Wow. Now, I want to skip ahead to here. Now, we'll go a little bit before. I mean, that sound... I mean, you could hear more Zukerman than the orchestra. That is a massive sound. Just after this, the first line, and it repeats, spiccato. think that a violin can even make that sort of sound, that depth of the sound, and that projection as well, completely over the entire orchestra. This is a live recording as well. And it's also one of my favorite recordings because it's one of the only recordings that has nothing at all of the sort of staleness of a recording. Some recordings can feel, some are worse than others, but they can have this feeling of like, it's a lot more boring, or it's a lot more, what's the word for it? I don't quite have it. It's not the same experience as a live performance. But this recording really is that. And so I think if you want to hear Zukerman, start with this recording. So that's Ray Chen, Hadelich, Zukerman, their finest recordings. If you want me to make another video, like a part 2 to this with some other violinists, because of course, I think I've been going for too long uninterrupted right now. And so I chose not to put any more violinists in this. But if you liked it, let me know, and definitely give all of these recordings a listen yourself.